Alright, this is an honors extension for writing the equation of a circle. I talked about in the last couple videos about the standard form of the circle equation that we were going to use. And again, just to remind you, it looked like this: x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared, where h and k represent the center of the circle and r is the radius. Now this is another form. If you look at this guy right here, this is actually the equation of a circle. It's a little bit harder to graph because we look at that and we can't identify the center and the radius just by looking at this equation. So we're actually going to use the technique that we practiced with quadratics called completing the square to help find the center and the radius of the circle. So you guys are going to practice this just a little bit. I've written the steps down here off to the right and then given you a detailed example, and then I'll work through one or two of these just really quickly. You'll have a couple of these on your assignment today. So the first one, complete the square. We love this one, right? When we complete the square, remember previously we only had an x squared, so we didn't have a y squared. Well, this is a little bit different, but essentially you're just completing the square twice at the same time. So notice here the original equation in its form gives us x squared plus y squared, and then minus an x term and a y term, and then a constant term. Well, if we reorganize that, that's kind of your first step. Notice that we've wrote the x squared minus 6x first. So we put the x terms together, just grouped them, and here's our y terms together, and then we just threw the 6 on the other side. I say we as if someone else was here doing this with me, but it's just me. So I put the 6 on the other side. Then we complete the square with each piece. So remember, when we complete the square, we kind of move things out of the way, and then we leave this opening where we can insert that perfect number. And remember, to find the perfect number, we take half the middle term. So on this first section, we would do half of that, which is -3. And then we square that to find the number that goes here. So ultimately we put a 9 in right there. On the other side, same thing. We take half of 2, which is 1, and then we square that. 1 squared is just 1, so notice they've added in a 1 there. Okay. And then remember, we have to balance out the equation. So if you're going to add 9 on the left side, you need to do it on the right side. If you're going to add 1 on the left side, you need to add 1 on the right side. So ultimately, when we add this totally together, we end up with this 16 right here. I guess I should use my laser tool. Anyway, then you go ahead and you factor. So this guy, the x piece, factors down to x minus 3 squared. Ooh, that's nice. And y plus 1 squared would be this part right here, our y pieces, and then you have the 16. Notice that's easy to find the center of. Now our center here, if I was identifying that, the center would be at the value 3, -1, and the radius here would be equal to the square root of that, which is 4. So we can use complete the square. So let's try it ourselves here. Complete the square again to find the center and radius of the circle. So once again, I'm going to group things together, and I'll try and use different colors to make this make sense. But here's my x pieces, so I'm going to say x squared minus 4x. And then here's my y pieces, so much for different colors. Plus y minus 6y, and that guy should be squared. And then I'm going to put the 9 on the other side. So I'm going to subtract it over to the other side. Gives me a -9. That being said, now I'm going to add in my perfect pieces. So again, I take half of this, which is -2, and I square it. That would be a +4 there. If I add it to the left side of the equation, make sure I add it to the other side. Then I'm going to take half of this one, which is -3, and we're going to square that, which is a +9. So we add it to both sides. Again, we then factor. So remember, on this side, this one's going to factor down to a 2 and a 2, or in other words, x minus 2 squared. And then this y piece is going to factor down to y minus, and it's 3 times 3, that gives us 9, so that means it's 3 squared. We then combine these pieces. So you've got a -9 and a 9. Those actually cancel each other out, so we just have 4. So if I want to identify the center, now there's my h and my k would be at 2, 3, and the radius here would be equal to 2. Alright, last one. I'll work through this one really quick. Again, go ahead and try these on your own, or if you feel like you have it, you don't need to even watch this last example. We've got x squared plus 6x. Again, I move my y pieces over here. Y squared minus 2y, and I move the 15 to the other side of the equation. I take half this middle term and square it, so that means I'm going to add 9. Here again, I take half this, which is 1, and I add it here, and then make sure that we balance out that equation there. So here I end up with x plus 3 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 15 plus 10, which is 25. So the center is sitting at negative 3, 1, and the radius is equal to 5.